Time seems to be going by. We're already at week 3 for high school football, at least in the terms of the way we are measuring it. But it's time for us in this video to discuss how the Auburn football recruits did in week 3. And there's some exciting things again to discuss. I know it seems like every week we have exciting things to discuss, but also a new name to the mix who we're going to get to talk about for the very first time. But before we jump into the video, always want to remind you, if you haven't, please do make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the content that we put out here on this channel for you. A high school football report for week 3 in terms of our Auburn football recruits, all of them that are currently committed right now as of this video, because we know things can change sometime. As I mentioned, we're going to hear a lot of familiar names that we've talked about in previous weeks who've done continually very well, but one new one that I'm really excited to jump into. As a reminder, this is best, not guesswork, but research that we can do to get the stats, the correct scores and things like that. There may be some discrepancies because sometimes it's not kept as well. Although I think this week there was some pretty good coverage of all of the high school commits for Auburn and how they performed. I've been teasing you about the person that we haven't been able to talk about. That is Ashley Williams. Finally, Zachary High School is on the board in terms of getting their schedule started in their official week 1, even though we're discussing technically week 3. They beat East Ascension 35-13. Kind of looking at how Ashley did overall. Again, this is his first game. So 3 tackles, and 2 of those were for a loss. And the other notes for him would be a sack and a deflected pass at the line. So you can see right there, as a defender, very versatile, not just making the tackle, but getting after the the passer or just getting into the backfield, but also getting his hands up and being part of the pass coverage as well. Next up, we're going to talk about Braden Joyner from Auburn High School, the local kid who took down with his team Dothan by the score of 42-14. They continue to roll. In terms of how he did, and just keep in mind, it's always difficult to measure specifically how the offensive linemen are doing, but we can get an idea based off how the team performed. Auburn scored on its first 4 possessions. They had a total of 448 yards. They had 2 running backs. One ran for 6 carries, 80 yards, and the other ran for 13 carries, 108 yards. Now, here's the funny thing about this and why I put him so high up in the order in which I mentioned him. They tried to bring him in as a Wildcat quarterback. It shows you he's got a little bit of athleticism about him, or maybe they're just trying to have fun. Well, it didn't go so well. Apparently, the snap was a little hot. There was a little bit of mishandling on the term of Braden Joyner. Didn't work out. Actually ended up very badly for them. Dothan ran it back for a touchdown, I believe. But hey, nice to see them trying some new things with Braden Joyner to get him more of a highlight reel. Next up, we got DeQuavia Story out of Chipley High School in Florida. Took on Pike Liberal Arts of Alabama in a cross-state game there. A little fun fact, Pike Liberal Arts is one of my former rivals when I was in high school, when I played a little ball back in the day. Well, they walloped them 46-9. Diving into how Story did overall, 2 touchdowns for him. One was a 40-yard touchdown pass that he received. He had also 6 passes caught for 109 yards. And also an 18-yard rushing touchdown. On top of that, not necessarily about his game, but just interesting note for the week, he was at the Mercer game and one of his recruiting opportunities. He can come and visit. Obviously already being committed, but you want to get these guys on the field as much as possible to continue to build those relationships and keep that solid going to signing day. I'm happy that we're talking about this guy in more detail. Again, J.C. Hart, kind of a local boy from Lochapoka High School. They beat Verbena in a close one, kind of 14-0, and all the offense, well, in the scoring at least, came from J.C. Hart. So let's talk about what he did. 2 touchdowns, obviously, for the team, but 2 touchdowns for him. One was a 30-yard pass that he received, which also gave him 130 yards passing total for the day. But the other touchdown that he was responsible for was a 92-yard pick 6 that he took back to the house to secure the win. Very important right there. Obviously, we're recruiting him as a defensive back, so that last stat there is very, very important, but you can see the athleticism and why the coaches are so high on him. Next up, Jeremiah Cobb. We've been gushing about how he's done at the beginning of this season, and it just continues here. So him being lower in this list, there's no ranking in this list, just is me trying to mix it up a little bit. Jeremiah Cobb, Montgomery Catholic, they took down Booker T. Washington 56-14. I mean, just look at some of these, stats that come out of this game, and they seem kind of small and just pieced together, but trust me, you can go see the highlights. His performance was obviously impressive. 17 carries, 205 yards, 5 touchdowns. Let me say that again, 5 touchdowns. Absolutely incredible performance that continues week to week for him. making a very strong case for Mr. Football for the state of Alabama. Next up, Carmelo English from Phoenix City Central Phoenix City, however you say it. They took down Enterprise 27-7. So not a super impressive win, but a convincing win nonetheless. Let's talk about what he did in this game. 6 receptions for 71 yards. He also had 1 carry for 2 yards. So kind of a lower key day for him compared to where he was at in the previous game where we talked about him. Here's the issue that happened. He actually injured his toe in the first half. He fought through it for the first half, but I guess the coaches chose to sit him for the second half. So you kind of wonder what his day might have been like had he been able to continue playing. Don't want to risk it this early in the season, especially when they had a easy enough win. We'll talk about the last two very quickly because there's not as many notes to talk about from them. We've got Terrence Love of Langston Hughes taking down Mays High School, I believe their name is, 62-12. He had 6 tackles total on the game that we could find. And last we have Wilkie Denard of John Carroll High School taking on Glades Day High School. They won 55-0. No stats that we could find for him, but happy to see that his team, but all of the guys in this list continue to be completely undefeated in terms of team-wise victories going into the year so far. So we'll hope that trend continues for our Auburn football commits. I'd love to know from you whose performance or things that you heard about them from this past week stood out to you the most. Let's keep the conversation going down below. As always, if you like this type of content, please do make sure you smash the like button to help the video out, but also subscribe so you don't miss anything. Football, basketball, baseball, and non-sports stuff too we got here on this channel. You don't want to miss a live stream or a video, so make sure you subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description for ways you can help support our content, such as being a channel member here by hitting the join button, or head over to patreon.com/E2C Network to join the Booster Club. Thank you for tuning in to E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle.